It's an honor for me to be here at this great conference in this great famous university. And for me, it's always a pleasure to be in Istanbul. I think it's about my 13 or 14 speech here in Istanbul. And it's always a pleasure to be in this beautiful city. You live in a beautiful city, in a beautiful country. And the very special thing for me is when I walk through the streets here in Istanbul, you can see the roots, the historic, and the future, the modern, the innovation. This is exactly my topic for the next 30 minutes. I mean, the historic, the roots of leadership, and the future of leadership. I'm not a leadership expert. I'm a futurist. I'm an expert in innovation, in technology. And from this perspective, I look on leadership. So I have some thoughts, some ideas, how you could futurize leadership in the future. So, first, you have to know where you come from. What is your history? About 100 years ago, we have Taylorism. And his research dominates how we worked in the last decades, how we thought about leadership, how we thought about work. And his key message was, humans have to follow the system. The employee has to follow the process, the organization. But that changed. Today we live in a technology-driven world. And we get much more technology and less people in our organization. But this is the reason why leadership and the humans become much more powerful, much more relevant. Today, the system has to follow the human. The process has to follow the human. That's what's the key message or the key change we already had. Okay. So, good. I hope it doesn't have to. Come. Do you know this guy? That's you. That's me. Because this guy started with some bottles put on his bike. But after years, he gets more and more experienced. He has great experience. And now he's an expert in putting bottles on his bike. And if you start something new, it doesn't matter to futurize your leadership or any change project or digitalization or whatever. The first step must be, ask yourself, is your task, what you try to do, just a few bottles and you could add it on your bike, you can put it there, up, or is the task to futurize leadership a huger task, a huge bunch of bottles? And I think that's a huger task. So the first step must be clean up. A little story from my private life. A couple months ago, my wardrobe was full. I don't have any space anymore for new clothes. And my first idea was, buy a new board, buy a new wardrobe. But my wife is much cleverer than I. She said, maybe you could throw the old clothes away. You can clean up your wardrobe. There are so many clothes in your wardrobe you do not use anymore. And it's not easy. It's really hard to put the first clothes out of the wardrobe and throw it away. It's not easy. But after 10 minutes, I have 50% of the wardrobe empty. So I have new space, new room for fresh, new ideas, for fresh, new clothes. And this is like in your business or in your private life. At first, you have to clean up your leadership. There are so many old things, so many mindsets, so many old processes. You can throw them away and get really some space for new, fresh ideas. And today I have a little bit technical problems, doesn't matter. But then, if you start something new, if you futurize your leadership, you have the problem that the people maybe don't want that. If you go back into your organization, nobody would say, welcome, great that you were at this convention, this conference, and you talk about the new leadership, and let's do it. Nobody would do that. No. You have to learn from the popcorn seller. Also here, a little story from my private life. When I go with the family, with some friends to the cinema, I always say to myself, today, no popcorn. I don't want to get fat. I have so many sugar, no popcorn today. And just a few steps before I enter the cinema, I say to myself, no popcorn today. And then I go into the cinema, I open the door, and I smell popcorn. And this is the moment I get weak. And then I see other people eating popcorn. And that's the moment I get really weak. And then someone asked me, hey, let's buy some popcorn. And I said, yes. And this is like leadership. You have to smell the change, the new leadership. You have to show people how great it is. They want new leadership if they like it, if other people do that, if other people eat that, consume that. So you have to react like the popcorn vendor. Give the smell of something new, give the smell of new leadership, and then people will buy it. Otherwise, they won't buy it. To understand how people react, how people think, there's an old quote from Henry Ford. Maybe you already heard that quote, but it's the best quote. He said, if I ask my clients what they want, they would have said a faster horse. And I think if Henry Ford asked the researchers or the consultants, they would have said a faster horse which needs less gas. Cheaper. Why? At that time, people just know horses. They don't have any other possibilities. They just know horses. And this is like in your organization. People know just the old kind of leadership. That's where they grew up. That's where they worked in the last decades. But our job is to think like Henry Ford, to understand that his clients just want better and cheaper transportation, mobility, better mobility. And in the past, horse was a good instrument to have good mobility, but in the future, he understands the car will be the better option for mobility. So we have to talk with our people. We have to listen what they say, but we have to translate it like he does, because people will tell us they need a faster horse. They need a better old understanding of leadership, but we have to translate it in the new instruments, in a new way, how we could do leadership. And we have to better understand. We have to, feel, hear, listen like them. What you see here is the so-called age simulator. If you put this suit on with a helmet and so on, a technician could change the way you feel, hear, and everything. Like, for example, now you're 40 years old and you wear the suit, he could switch you to an 80-year-old person. And you see, hear, smell like an older person. And this is what we have to do as a leadership. We have to change our position from our leadership position to the other side and understand much better how our people think, live, feel, and everything. Like this guy in this Age Explorer. And the other thing, we have to try something new. 20 years ago, a university in Oregon, US, they recreate the whole campus of the university with all buildings, everything around. And then they ask their clients, the students, the professors, and so on, how they could organize the ways for the people who walk and drive by bicycles through the different buildings. And they have a very clever idea. They just have some grass. Just grass, just the green. And after 2 months, they could see where the people are walking. And afterwards, they create the ways on that footpaths in the grass. That was very cool. They just look how people react. And this is what we have to do. We have, look what our people do. And then afterwards, we have to, bring new processes, other things in that point. People won't follow us if they won't trust us. Clear. And to build trust, you have to communicate clear. But communication in leadership as a key is not that easy, as you can see in this little video.
Fall, and
you know this example?
It'll be an exercise in building trust between one another. So Harrison, if you don't mind going first, step up here on this chair and close your eyes.
Okay.
All right, and then everybody fill in, and we're going to ask you to fall, and then they will catch you. So you have to trust us. So I'm going to count to 3. Just relax and fall. Okay? 1, 2, 3. No, wait, no!
As you can see, communication is key for that. But this is how we worked. We have a clear communication, but you can see people can react totally different. We also need a different kind of thinking. Think different, be different. What you can see here is a manufacturer for shoes from Italy. And they had a task to design a brand new shoe for a woman for a very special evening. So they asked exactly 1,000 women how this shoe should look like. And then they design and produce exactly this shoe, like 1,000 women said they want to have this shoe. But it was a really bad failure because it was a usual shoe, an average shoe. And no woman would buy an average shoe for an extraordinary night. And this is like in our leadership. Today, they have a totally different approach. They talk with some crazy women, the so-called avant-garde, which is a nice French word. It's come out from military. Avant-garde is that part of the troops who are on the front line. So they ask these crazy women, what could be a cool shoe? And for you, the meaning is, if you ask 1,000 people how they would like leadership in the future, you will get average answers. But ask cool people, crazy people, and you get much more hints, much more tips how leadership or new management could look like. Maybe they have crazy ideas, and I think especially such a convention, so a congress, such an event is a cool idea to talk with crazy people. We have crazy thoughts, new thoughts. And this is much, much better than talking with 100, 1,000 people and just get average answers out of that. The other thing is, in today business life, we have this so-called elevator pitch situation. You ever heard about that phrase, elevator pitch? A few? Okay. Elevator pitch, it's easy to explain. Imagine you are in front of this elevator and you are alone. The doors open, you go into the elevator, and just before the doors are closed, some very important person jump into the elevator, and then the door closed. And you are in this elevator with this very important person for about maybe 60 or 90 seconds. And then he asks you something like, hey, what's your thoughts about new leadership? What is a new project? What is your idea? What is a new business model? Whatever. And the typical answer is, I will send you an email with a 130-side PDF and you can read it. He won't read it. As a leader, you have such a situation about 20 to 30 times a day, where you just have maybe 40 or 50 seconds, and you have to tell your thoughts, what you're doing at the moment or in the future. And the people, they don't listen what you say. They listen what your face is telling them. If you like that, if you don't like that, if you have passion to that or not, they can read it in your face. This is what they're checking. So this is hard for you, that you have 20 or 30 times a day in this situation, and people just want to see if you have passion for that. And if they can read your passion in your face, in your body language, they will listen. And maybe a little bit longer than just 40 or 60 minutes. So, I'm sorry, I have a little bit technical problem today. That's why I have checked. Let's talk about the best leadership team. This is a photo out of a typical company all over the world. They look very similar. They look boring. This is my perfect leadership team. That's cool. I don't have that much time to talk about this leadership team. I could talk 2 or 3 hours. One friend of mine, he does research for future of leadership coming out of science fiction. And you can learn a lot of science fiction for future, especially for future leadership. This team, do you know this enterprise? Okay. For example, the guy on the left. You know that? The black guy? Who's that? Nobody knows? That's the engineer. That's the engineer. He always manages any kind of problem. They have a problem on enterprise, and the captain says, how long would it take to fix the enterprise? And the engineer says, okay, 2 hours. And the captain says, you have 40 minutes. And he managed it after 39 minutes and 30 seconds. And enterprise is going well. You need this guy. You need this engineer guy. Or you know this guy in the behind with the wharf? Heard about that? No? Okay. He's the security officer. So if they have any problem, he starts fighting. He punishes someone in the face. He does not ask. That's the job of a security officer, not asking what's going on. He has to punish. That's his job. You also need such a person in your leadership team. And on the right side, Riker, it's the first officer. Enterprise, they discover new planets, new life forms. It's like in your business, you discover new markets, new countries, and then some people have to go to this new planet, to these new life forms. This is not the captain, because the captain is too much important. The captain has to be on the aircraft, on the Enterprise. So the first officer, he goes to the new planet and do these hard and dangerous jobs. So you can see this is totally different to what we have in the past, where people look similar, think similar, they are crazy, they are totally different people. And also, we need a totally new culture of errors and failure. Did you ever heard about the Penguin Award? Penguin Award? No? The Penguin Award is created, designed in the Silicon Valley, but you can see that in many companies all around in the world, but then the award has a different name. But it's always the same. You get this award if you have a big disaster. A big disaster if you deliver a huge error. And of course, it's not that you honor to deliver a disaster. They honor that you try something new, that you are not frightened to do something new. When I look around in the companies, I see a lot of people, they are frightened. They do not try new things because they are scared. They are so scared that they don't do something. But in a world where change is very fast, especially out of digitalization, you need people who really try something new. And they are not scared. And the second point why they honor with this Penguin Award is because the people who deliver this disaster, they talk about this disaster so that the organization could learn out of their mistakes. Yes, I learned a lot about from best practices, from success stories. That's great. But I also learn a lot out of disasters. And we have to talk and to celebrate about our success stories, but we also have to talk about our failures. We could learn out of that. And the very important point is that people are not scared anymore to do and try something new. So, I'm sorry, I have to jump a little bit. So, I hope we keep in touch. I'm here the whole day, entire day, and you can find me on LinkedIn. And it would be nice if we really share our ideas about the future of leadership. But my last tip, my last thought, I think it's maybe the important. Emotion is king. I don't know how many convention events and fairs you attend in the last 5 years. I can't remember all of them. But if you attend this job fair, you probably would remember that. This is the entrance, and you see with a huge writing, there are better ways to make a career. Okay, what happened? People, they take their smartphone, take a photo and put it on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And you get this viral marketing effect. That's cool. But this is not the reason why I show you that. The point is that these people who come to this fair, the entrance, they come in with a smile. And this is the hardest job for you as a leader, that your people, when they come on Monday morning, they come with a smile. And this is not easy. And on Fridays, they leave with a smile and enjoy their weekend. And have both, have the balance between both. And they come back with a smile. At the end, I will show you, in my eyes, the perfect employee of the future. And I show you a job interview, which is maybe probably totally different, like you could think about a job interview. But this guy, he has a clear strategy, a clear goal. He wants this job. But the way how he gets this job is totally different. And this is the way how I think future work will be. And believe me, it's much more fun. So please take a closer look on this guy.
Mr. Goodman. What makes you think you're qualified for this job?
Oh! Ah! Stop punching me!
Stop punching
Please!
me.
Don't throw me!
Not the fish.
Don't touch me! Get out of me! Don't throw me out!
Next.
Here is, huh? Get it?
It's time, gotta get in the groove. It's easy to just let your body move. I'm a love guru, your mother won't.
This is the future of work. This is the future of leadership. You will have much more fun and be a little bit more crazy, be a little more creative. And thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing your audience.